Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Algorithm Avenue. Till our 27 tutorial, we have clearly discussed about those algorithms which explain about the structure and functionality of an artificial neural network. Now, from this tutorial, our aim is to discuss only those algorithms which help us to optimize the performance of an artificial neural network. Okay, if you have been following my videos regularly, I have built three basic projects on deep learning. Now, in the three basic projects, I have used three different artificial neural networks. While I build those artificial neural networks, I have set few hyperparameter values. Okay, while you keenly observe these artificial neural networks, you may get three doubts. Okay, the first doubt is what are actually these hyperparameters? The second doubt is how many hyperparameters are actually there? And the third doubt is how to fine tune this hyperparameter values. Okay, now in this video our aim is to answer all these three questions. Okay, now let's start with our first question. What are actually these hyperparameters? Okay, these hyperparameters are nothing but variables. Okay, these hyperparameters are nothing but variables which are given by user to the neural network. Okay, these hyperparameters are nothing but variables which are given by the user to an artificial neural network. Okay, this is the basic definition of an hyperparameter. Now our second question is how many hyperparameters are actually present. Okay, our first hyperparameter is number of hidden layers. Okay, while you define an artificial neural network, you actually need to define three layers. The first is input layer, second is hidden layer, and the third is output layer. The input layer and output layer are present at the boundaries. Okay, input layer is at the leftmost side and output layer is present at the rightmost side. In middle we have hidden layers. Okay, the input layer and output layer are dependent on the data itself, and the hidden layers are set by the user. So it is a first hyperparameter. The second hyperparameter is number of hidden units per hidden layer. Okay, now we have built an artificial neural network with three layers. Okay, one is input layer, and second is hidden layer, and third is output layer. Now we also need to define how many hidden units must be present in this hidden layer. Okay, so this is our second hyperparameter, right? In our third hyperparameter is learning rate. Okay, this learning rate defines how fast an neural network can learn. Okay, if you have set your hyperparameter too low, your neural network learns slowly. If you have set your learning rate too high, your neural network learns faster. Okay, this is our third hyperparameter. Our fourth hyperparameter is optimizer. Optimizer is nothing but which is used to optimize the weights and bias values. Okay, which it is used to optimize the weights and bias values. In neural network we have various optimizers like Adam optimizer, stochastic gradient descent, mini batch gradient descent. Okay, we'll be discussing in our upcoming videos. Now the fifth is batch size. Okay, the fifth is batch size. If you have seen my video on mini batch gradient descent, I have explained you clearly about the batch size. In batch size we give the set of rows. Okay, we give set of rows as a batch. Okay, we give the set of rows as a batch and we update the weights and bias according to that batch. Okay, per batch we update the weights and bias values. Okay, this is our fifth hyperparameter. And our sixth hyperparameter is activation function. Okay, in neural network we have various activation function like tanh activation function, relu activation function, sigmoid activation function which is used for classification. Okay, I'll be discussing clearly about this activation function in our upcoming videos. Okay, our seventh hyperparameter is number of epochs. Okay, epochs are nothing but iterations. Okay, one epoch is nothing but one forward propagation and one backward propagation is nothing but an epoch. Okay, these epochs are also set by the user itself. Okay, generally while running the training and testing loop, we set the epoch value to some 100 or some 10 or 20 according to us. Okay, this is also set by user, so it also comes under an hyperparameter. Now in this video we'll be discussing about our first number of hidden layers and second number of hidden units per hidden layer and batch size. Okay, and the rest of the topics will be clearly explained in the upcoming videos. Yes, let's start discussing about each hyperparameter in detail. Okay, our first hyperparameter is number of hidden layers. Okay, to understand this concept, you need to answer a question. Now, I have a dataset. So, to make predictions on that dataset, I have taken two different neural networks. Okay, my first neural network is one with one input layer and only single hidden layer and one output layer, but this hidden layer contains over 1 million hidden units. Okay, now my second approach has one input layer and correspondingly we have four different hidden layers and one output layer. Okay, these four hidden layers combinedly has over 500k hidden units. Okay, my first approach contains only single hidden layer, but my second approach contains four different hidden layers. Now you need to answer uh, which neural network do you think performs best on the dataset. Okay, now according to me I will support the second approach. Okay, why do I support this second approach is the deep learning uses representative learning. Okay, what actually is this representative learning is, in deep learning when you pass the input data, okay, when you pass the input data, the initial hidden layers, okay, the initial hidden layers extract primitive features, primitive features. The primitive features are nothing but basic features. Now let's say I'm passing my facial data as an input. Now when these hidden layers process my facial data, they extract edges of my eyes, nose, mouth, ears, etc. as my primitive features, and this later deeper hidden layers combinedly extract complex features. Okay, when you pass an input data, the initial hidden layers extract primitive features and the later deeper hidden layers extract complex features. So, in this way, by using representative learning, the number of features extracted by a neural network is increasing. Okay, the number of features extracted is increasing. Okay, this is with the second approach. Now, let's see the first approach. Now, when you go with the first approach, as you have an only single hidden layer, the number of features extracted will be decreased. Okay, will be decreased. So when you go with the second approach, the predictions made on the dataset will be much better. Okay, much better. So this is the advantage of having more number of hidden layers. Okay, another advantage of having more number of hidden layers is transfer learning. Okay, I'll be explaining you this concept of transfer learning at the times of convolution neural networks. Okay, just remember that by using more number of hidden units there is a benefit of transfer learning. Okay, now you might have a get a doubt that when I need to stop adding this number of hidden layers. Okay, until you face overfitting. Okay, until you face overfitting, add more number of hidden layers. Okay, now let's see what is the concept of this overfitting. Overfitting is nothing but best accuracy on training data and poor accuracy on test data. While you might have built some models, you might have observed that you will be getting training accuracy as 100%, while the test accuracy is being 10 to 20%. Okay, this is the case of overfitting. So until you face overfitting, you need to add more and more number of hidden layers. Okay, this is the concept of number of hidden layers. Okay, now we'll be discussing our second hyperparameter, that is number of hidden units per hidden layer. Okay, in deep learning we basically have three layers. One is input layer, hidden layer and output layer. In input layer, number of input nodes are determined by our data itself. Okay, in data how many features we have, that many number of input nodes are present. Okay, in output layer the number of nodes are determined by number of classes in the data. Okay, how many classes we have, that many number of output nodes will be present in the neural network. Okay, but number of hidden units are determined in the hidden layer are determined by the us itself. Okay, now let's see an approach which is used by the scientists in the olden days. This is known as pyramidal approach. Okay, in this pyramidal approach, the initial hidden layers, okay, the initial hidden layers have more number of hidden units, whereas in later deeper hidden layers have less number of hidden units. Okay, why actually we use this pyramidal approaches? Generally, when you start to read a subject, if you are good with the basics, okay, if you concentrate and read well the basics, then you will be good at the complex concepts as well. Okay, so the same concept is applied over here. Okay, initially when we have more number of hidden units in the hidden layer, the more number of primitive features are extracted, means more number of basics are learned. So when the model learns more number of basics, so understanding the complex features is also easy. So number of hidden units in the deeper hidden layers will be very much less. Okay, this is the structure, this is a pyramidical concept. Okay, but later this pyramidical approach has failed because it doesn't give that good accuracy. So later scientists decided to go with random approach. Okay, they decided to go with some random approach, means number of hidden units are decided randomly until they get overfitting. Third hyperparameter is batch size. We have clearly discussed about this batch size in our mini batch gradient descent video. Okay, in this batch size concept, okay, in this batch size concept we set number of rows as a single batch. When the batch processing is completed, we update the weights and bias values. Okay, now in this batch size concept we have two approaches. In the first approach, we select the batch size as smaller. In the second approach, we set the batch size as larger. Okay, these are basically the two approaches. Now when you go with the first approach, you will be having some advantage and some disadvantage as well. Okay, the advantage is best accuracy on test data, and the disadvantage is longer training time. Longer training time. Okay, this is the advantage with going with the first approach, that is smaller batch size, and this is the disadvantage with going with the smaller batch size. Okay, now when you go with larger batch size, the main disadvantage is poor test accuracy. Okay, you'll be having poor test accuracy, but the advantage is you'll be having faster training. Okay, faster training. Now, sir, which is a better approach for me to apply on my dataset? Okay, I would suggest going with the second approach. Okay, larger batches, because generally in real world scenarios we'll be having large amounts of data. So processing this large amounts of data with the smaller batches will be difficult. So setting larger batches would be more advantage, because you'll be having less training time and better accuracy as well. Okay, now in the second approach we have a concept called learning rate scheduler. Okay, in this learning rate scheduler is nothing but at the initial stages of training, you'll be having smaller batch size, smaller learning rate, but later stages of training, the learning rate will be increased. Okay, means initially when you start your training, you'll be starting with some random learning rate. Okay, that may be very small. Okay, with some random learning rate you'll be starting. So at the initial stages of training, you'll be having very much lower learning rate. Okay, very much lower learning rate, because the model learns very much deeper on the at the initial training stages. Okay, as your model, as your train time increases, okay, as you go further in your training, your model learns too fast. Okay, as your model learn basics already is very much slowly, so you start to increase this learning rate. Okay, you start to increase this learning rate, so to make the train time much faster and also achieve this best test accuracy. Okay, this is the concept of batch size. Yes, we have discussed about all our three hyperparameters in detail. Okay, we'll be discussing the rest of the hyperparameters in detail in our upcoming videos. Now, in this section, we'll be discussing the general problems faced in the deep learning during the training. Okay, the first problem is vanishing gradient and exploding gradient problem. Okay, in vanishing gradient problem, a gradient value will be so small that our weight values will not be updated. Means our new weight value and old weight value will not be having much difference. Okay, this is the problem of vanishing gradient problem. In vanishing gradient problem, training will be completely stopped. Okay, the second is exploding gradient problem. In exploding gradient problem, our gradient value will be so large that our old weight value and new weight value will be having larger difference. Okay, this is the case of exploding gradient problem. Due to this exploding gradient problem, our predictions on the dataset will be not proper. Okay, and the second problem most of the people face in deep learning is not having enough data. Okay, let's say you have built a best model and you are given best hyperparameters. Okay, even after having both the scenarios, if you don't have enough data, then your model will not be able to predict well on the test data. Okay, predict well on the test data or training data. Okay, now let's the third is slow training. Okay, when you have large amounts of data, then the training will be very much slower. Okay, this is a third problem that is faced by most of the people during deep learning neural network training. Okay, the fourth case is overfitting. Okay, in this overfitting case, let's say you have some smaller data. Now to make predictions on the smaller data, you need some deeper artificial neural networks. Okay, let's say you have smaller data, some larger data. To make predictions on this data set, you need some deeper artificial neural networks. Okay, now when you build this deeper artificial neural networks, then you'll be facing the case of overfitting. Okay, due to this deeper artificial neural networks, you'll be facing the case of overfitting. Okay, now when you face this overfitting case, the training accuracy will be 100%, whereas test accuracy will be 10 to 20%. Means your model will not be able to generalize well. Okay, these are the four problems that are basically faced by the users during deep learning training. We have discussed about the four basic problems that we face during neural network training in our previous section of the video. Okay, first is vanishing and exploding gradient problem, second is not enough data, third is slow training, and fourth is overfitting. Okay, these are the corresponding solutions to those problems. Okay, first is vanishing and exploding gradient problem. To solve this vanishing and exploding gradient problem, the first solution is proper weight initialization, second is activation functions, and the third is batch normalization, and fourth is gradient clipping. Okay, the second problem that we basically face is not having enough data. Okay, to solve this, we need to use transfer learning and unsupervised pre-training. Okay, the third is slow training. Okay, to solve the slow training problem, we need to use optimizers and learning rate schedulers. And the fourth is overfitting case. To solve this case of overfitting, we need to use L1 and L2 regularizations and dropouts. Okay, this is just an overview, and this is a clear roadmap that we'll be discussing in our upcoming videos. Okay, we'll be discussing about all these concepts clearly in our upcoming videos. Okay, hope you like this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.